Hi, everybody. It's Kevin and Thea from RPH Ally, rphally.com, Remote Care Services channel. Please check it out and get to learn a lot more. Thea and I just came back from a pretty incredible experience at the Healers and Healthcare Conference. Thea's been to a number of conferences this year and has been educating me on just being inspired about making connections and how those connections can really add on to the legacy of a pharmacist or healthcare provider. And we want to talk to you guys a little bit more about that, how we've kind of been inspired, how our relationship has grown individually and with other folks that we've met over time. And we'll hit our reel and be right back. Hey, everybody. Thea, so we had the most interesting side conversation there. Thea and I were just kind of jumping into a few different things. So we were talking about remote patient monitoring, which you both love to talk about. We're talking about kind of the future of healthcare, things we want to do in our PH Ally, relationships we're trying to build, connecting with people that need our help. And we're talking about business and contracting and all these other pieces. And I think it goes back to like, we talk about these kind of things super openly because like we genuinely care about each other. Like we want each other to succeed. And I think establishing those relationships, Thea, what I found out from this last conference that you and I were at together, one, I gave Thea a hug and it was fantastic. She's a great hugger. But the other thing was this, like seeing people in person was huge with establishing those relationships that you can really use to build whatever you're trying to do inside of healthcare. What big takeaways did you have, Thea?
I just love getting in front of people and the natural energy that people give off. Like, I think that is the biggest takeaway for me when I went to in-person events late fall last year and then into this Healers in Healthcare. And, I went to support Christina Fontana, the organizer of the whole program for Healers in Healthcare. And I went to support her and be a speaker for her and do the thing for her. But I was able to take a friend along with me. And man alive, I told my friend, I'm like, I'm taking a box of tissues because we're all going to need them. And you're going to be blown away by the stuff that she can pull out of you and really just understand that there is so much to healthcare that gets overlooked by modern medicine. And I feel like we got to take a step back and look at our energy around all things healthcare and how we show up as people, let alone as practitioners, and what that all looks like. And, I feel like we were talking earlier, Kevin, like I feel like my job for this conference was to make sure my friend got there. Like that was on my heart to do. And so my friend is over the moon excited about all things in healthcare, retail-minded pharmacist, never thought about exiting the box of retail pharmacy until she started hanging out with me again. And look out, like here we are going to go blow up America now because it just is so inspiring. It's so inspiring to get around people that are not settling for the norm of what pharmacy is. And that whole intimate conference were those people. They just were. All of us there were people that are going to blow up pharmacy.
Yeah, it was a lot of hair on fire, a lot of excitement to all be together. One thing I want to talk about that connects to our topic is we did an exercise, Thea, that you and I did together, and we've had a couple folks comment on it, just us laughing, together, which is great because Thea and I get to laugh together all the time. But what we did was we built a business plan, is at first a fairly serious like task with a bunch of business-minded individuals. At our table, we had Trish, your friend. I don't know if we can mention her name yet, but we'll mention it later someday. Delon, Thea, and myself. And so we have different backgrounds we're all coming from, different approaches we're coming at it from. And it was so amazing just to see the synergies kind of light up. And inside of it, really put together a very fascinating business plan of taking care of college students, right, that are going through opioid crisis or drug utilization, and then having a training element that's offered by pharmacists to be able to help school employees, RAs, et cetera, to be able to connect the dots for those students and be able to take care of them so there are less incidents of emergency room visits or deaths on campuses. And so we went from all laughing about things to really zoning in and being able to do something in, what was it, 45 minutes?
45 minutes, yes. And had a trifold board ready to go with lights, I might add, and the light wand, the light stick that we had to use before that, they got implemented on our storyboard, and it turned out to be amazing. And it's Safe Campus Celebrations was our program.
We'll be implementing that in a college near you. sale. But no, the reason I bring it up, Thea, is it's really this, like all the different personalities and connections that we kind of made there just in that experience of respecting each other's gifts and trying to be very intentional with looking at each member on what they wanted to contribute and how they wanted to contribute. I thought everyone did a wonderful job of being present, like with that, like that task, but also recognizing like, I don't want my voice just to be the only voice. I want these other voices to pull in. And your friend was, I mean, absolutely fantastic. One thing, you tell her I love her. And then two, that like there were constant like little bits of jokes. The reason why I think it's so important that that humor kind of lasted is that was a real connection. And the legacy element that we built is the ability to take from idea creation, kind of a funny kind of concept, and lead ourselves through in a very quick period of time with laughter and enjoyment to something that could be at the very least pitched as an idea. And I think there's something that you and I have talked about a lot on RPM, in general, of like remote patient monitoring, chronic care management, like being able to jump into these things. Like it seems very heavy at first, just this is going to be a very big lift. And it's fascinating, like that you have told me about some of the implementations you've done and some of the connections you've made and how quickly that can really go from just an idea or a concept up to working based on those relationships. Anything we can tie in together there, Thea, on healers and healthcare and some of the implementations that you've done recently?
Yeah, I mean, I think without the network that I have, it's one of those things where it's like, if I didn't have the big network on LinkedIn or in my Facebook or on Instagram, I wouldn't have known half the people there. I would looking around the room to see who was already on my socials, and a lot of them were there. And I was like, I'm building a pretty good network of people. And it really just showcased like the opportunity of everyone else's legacies coming together, because not everyone in that room was doing remote patient monitoring or chronic care management. No one else was. They were doing functional medicine and infertility and women's health and real estate. And I don't even know all of them, but Delon was deprescribing. You were RPHL. Like we were all of different backgrounds, but our network was so strong that we were so focused on being the next level in pharmacy and in the career for pharmacy for the next 10 years. And I feel like that's the legacy that room was able to really showcase. I just got goosebumps clear to my toes. And it really is about the building of the connections so that when you are faced with the challenge of a business question, like I just bounced off of Kevin before we got started here, we have the opportunity in our connections in our network to be able to ask those questions that are going to get us to a legacy standpoint. And to me, a legacy is just leaving something bigger than what I took from pharmacy. And I think that's amazing. I mean, I got into pharmacy and healthcare, so I didn't have to touch anyone because I'm a cactus and I don't like touching people. And so, Kevin already knows because I dared not give him a hug because I called myself a cactus earlier. But
she hugged me multiple.
The whole point for me is that I want to leave a legacy bigger than myself. I don't need to touch someone to care for them. I don't need to dispense anything to care for a patient. My knowledge and skill set is that of I fix problems. I see issues. I go after what is the problem. And I think when you get around like-minded people like that, your legacy opportunities go through the roof. It just is over the moon with the possibilities that could happen because Kevin really cares about my outcomes. Kevin really cares that I'm struggling in a business choice right now, and he wants to make sure I do succeed. And getting around people like that, can you imagine what our worlds would look like if everyone on Facebook was like that? And that's what we're building. And that's exciting for pharmacy.
No, I can't agree with you more. I mean, I think that just thinking about some of the people in that room, that we'll bring onto the show, for sure. I think that, I remember you sitting down and talking with Christy, for example, and Christy was bright. She was fantastic. Like she has a really interesting background, a real passion for independent pharmacy with her dad, having that connection inside the space. But you guys just kind of shooting ideas back and forth on like what is happening in RPM and CCM, what's happening in functional medicine, and what's happening in her space that she's trying to push forward. Same thing with Lauren, that I know she's trying to use physical activities and sleep and exercise inside of her space. And then Lauren Castle, trying to use lots of different modalities, especially functional medicine, with trying to push the profession. So you get those interlacings that end up happening that are just end up being so natural because you're all caring about each other inside the space. And it just adds to the depth that you can go. So for example, like when I'm talking about depth is this, like Thea and I, we both have retail or hospital like type of background. So the way we approach RPM, CCM, her and I are on a very similar wavelength. Like this is what we think about doing, metrics driven. Here are the given HEDIS measures, star ratings, et cetera. But someone that's coming from a functional medicine background, an herbalism background, someone that's looking at hormonal like replacement has a different perspective that's so fantastic to bring to our mindsets of going, here's how I would leverage it with pharmacogenomics. Here's how I'd leverage it with, supplement integration, inside of the business model. And so there's a lot of elements that help build that legacy of connection, because now Thea is going to be even better at connecting with people that are thinking in a similar way, because she's met people and she can ping off of people that know that world better than she might, or definitely better than I do. And so I think that's another piece that I drew from the conference that I thought was really special, of being a fly on the wall and seeing this rock star over here just work with a bunch of people and really make them feel heard and comfortable and learning about their stories.
Yeah. And I think when I went to the other conferences outside of Healers in Healthcare last fall, I got more out of the conversations at the lunch table than I did for some of the speakers, or in the entire event, to be quite honest. Like the connections you make in the hall or in the vendors area or in the bathroom, for Pete's sakes, like the opportunities are endless to keep connecting with people, even if you're just in the same location because of education. Like I went to a state convention and I was just there to get the Con Ed. And so I went and I got the Con Ed, which was kind of boring, but I also got to meet some amazing, cool people doing some cool stuff outside of the box. And, I think when you go to events, if you get the opportunity to go live and connect with people in person, make sure that you're taking a moment and being social in those opportunities. Sit with different people at lunch and, walk around with different folks in the evening and just be social. I think it is huge to add the network that will support you in doing the endeavors, because like-minded people will flock together just like birds. So.
I'll even call it out, like on our shows, like all the folks that are watching, we love you and thank you for watching. But feel welcome. Like just blow Thea and I up. We will derail our conversation to be able to connect with you like this. And so jump on there, shoot us a comment, ask us a question. We're really excited to see you guys kind of involved overall. Pharmacy students that are out there, if you see other pharmacists, other pharmacy students in conferences and conventions, like Thea kind of mentioned, I'm still pointing the wrong way, Thea, someday I'll get it. But as Thea mentioned, having a real conversation, asking them a couple questions about their career, like what they're doing, getting to know them as a human being, like that kind of networking opportunity is going to be worth dividends over the top of just going in and sitting down and being an audience member and partaking some information, because now you've got information that is live, living, and replicable, for you.
Right.
And you can take and make one career opportunity or another out of it. And even better, you have someone that's a friend. Like sometimes stuff is hard. Sometimes it is not uncomfortable. Sometimes it's very uncomfortable. And you have to have someone that you can go to and feel safe with. And I think you building that network and feeling free to do so, that is exactly what, like when Thea and I were talking and going home, what we want to change, not that our PHL isn't always trying to be that, but making that human connection, like making people know that we're just not two people on the screen that just blab and blab and blab like Kevin would like to do, but that we really do care, about the individuals that are joining. And we really want to be able to benefit the profession through what we're doing. And that's a few of the things, Thea, that I brought away from the conference that I thought were really special, of just how important that connection is, not on just growing a community or a personal brand, but, getting more enjoyment out of life, to be able to help others that are in your circle.
Yeah. And I laughed so hard. Like, I don't think I've laughed that hard in a long time. And that one picture of me out there on social right now has me laughing so hard, because it was literally just outside of our box of what we normally do every day. And nothing exciting was going on at that table, but it was literally the best time that I've had in a long time, with getting the opportunity to laugh. And, I just want to leave folks with the opportunity to not be paranoid about going up and talking to other folks. I know a lot of people get like, oh, I can't go talk to somebody, I don't know who they are. And I had this tip given to me a while back, and it was pretend you're the hostess, because even if you don't know them, you will still be the hostess with the mostest every time. Like, you will walk up to them and be like, hey, how are you? Are you enjoying the conference? Like, what did you enjoy most? Like, just be the host that you would need to be able to open up to. And when I took myself out of feeling uncomfortable and said, oh, I've hosted things before, I got this, and I was able to walk up and do that thing. And so it's still hard. Like, I don't know anyone who would say sitting with a bunch of strangers isn't hard to make the silence go away, but it is something that you can think of. How would I like to be a host at this table? And that changes the conversation and my mindset on it, to be able to walk up to people that I don't know and really start a conversation. For maybe those pharmacy students out there that are, you know, struggling to make the connections in person at those big events, it is very daunting. But when you think about it as, you know, I am the host of my show and my show is to network, it's amazing. It really is great connections out there waiting.
Oh, so true, Thea. And I think the other piece that I would love to plug in is just go there with no expectations. You know, go there just truly wanting to get to know someone, you know. So if we're giving advice out here today of just, there are so many people at that conference, I didn't know them. I had no idea where they're from. Thea's, you know, network of knowing all these individuals, most of them were in my sphere, you know, originally, me being the nerd that I am. But getting to know them and sitting with them and getting to hear their stories and their backgrounds and why they're doing what they're doing was truly inspiring to me. I got a ton out of it, but started by asking for nothing. And so I think that's the one like piece is just sometimes we put way too much expectation on ourselves. Like this interaction has to yield these kinds of results. If we can go into it with just genuinely wanting to know more about an individual and what they're looking for and what they want, it doesn't have to be a sales angle. It doesn't have to be a pitch for a job. It can just literally be, I want to connect with this other human being, get to know the things that they care about, and then see where we kind of align. And then from there, it's a very natural progression of a relationship, I think, overall. So lots of really good things. One thing that I do want to plug in there is Thea and I are both passionate about, if you want to have live in-person connections, then we at RPH Ally, the entire team, are starting to build a little committee to be able to get those things put together. So if in your neck of the woods, you're like, hey, Thea, hey, Kevin, hey, anybody on the RPH Ally team or on any RPH allies or members, I want to do this in my area, let us know. You know, just reach out and say, here's where I'm kind of at. Here's what I'd like to, you know, see in my area. And we'd love to be able to go there and connect. I know we have several things planned with virtual symposiums and in-person like live events that we want to get up and running. And so we'd love to hear from you on your guys' feedback and things that have really made live in-person things matter to you. So you feel like you had a connection that built some legacy or at least some momentum in your life.
Yeah. Momentum starts the legacy one step at a time. I just posted about that the other day. So one step at a time.
You're getting into my subconscious now. Yeah.
Look out.
Perfect. Well, this episode has been very much so focused on connections. I love how Thea tied that into sometimes as lots of pharmacists. I was just talking to pharmacists before. We did not want to go and necessarily handhold individuals. There's lots of other pharmacists that did, you know, so I'm not trying to just pigeonhole us. But for those that do want to have a little bit of distance and still utilize all their skills or have even more connection and utilize their skills, Remote Care Services channel on RPH Ally, go check it out. Blow Thea up with a ton of tough brain buster questions because I love to see that coming Thea's way because she handles them like a champ. And then offer your advice on the things that you've done inside of the chronic care management or RPM kind of space and become an active member that feels very willing to participate because we want you there and we'd love to get to meet you and to make those connections with you.
Yeah, come on over. I'm waiting for those questions.
All right. We'll talk to you guys all soon. Have a great rest of the day.
Take care.